Hello, today we are going to be talking about the structure of plastics and bioplastics and how they are made out of molecules called monomers and polymers. So let's first start by defining what a molecule is. So in the last lesson, you guys learned about what atoms are. They are the smallest building blocks of our universe. When atoms join together, they form larger structures called molecules. These are some examples of molecules that maybe you are familiar with. The most easy example is the water molecule, which is one oxygen atom with two hydrogen atoms joined together. Here's another example of a molecule that you may be familiar with, which is CO2, carbon dioxide. It's one carbon atom attached to two oxygen atoms. This is another molecule that's more complicated. As you can see, it has oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen atoms joined together to form a more complicated structure. There are many different types of molecules in our world. So now let's talk about monomers and polymers. So a monomer is a small molecule, like this. A polymer is a really long chain molecule made out of many monomers joined together. So here's a monomer. If you take the monomer and you link them together over and over and you make a repeated pattern, you get a polymer. So what makes polymer molecules different from other types of molecules? These are very special types of molecules. A polymer is usually a very large molecule. It's a long chain. And because they're so huge, as you can see in this picture, the structure of this large molecule allows the material to bend, twist, and tangle. It allows them to stick to each other. And because they're so huge, uh, the molecules move very slowly. And this, you can probably imagine, for example, slime is an example of a polymer. And because polymers have large molecules, you can imagine, or you may have experienced, how slime moves fairly slowly. This is a polymer clay. It's a type of clay that's bendable and kneadable. And the reason why it's able to bend and twist so much is because it's made out of many polymer molecules that allow it to do so. Plastic is another example of a material made out of many polymers. So there's different types of polymers. We have natural polymers, such as starch, rubber, cellulose, and protein. And we have synthetic polymers, all of the plastics. And some of these you may be familiar with, such as polyester, uh, PVC plastic, nylon, polycarbonate, polystyrene, silicone. We have been talking about these kinds of plastics for a while now. And these polymers were made in the lab by joining different atoms together. So they're synthetic. So how are plastics made out of polymers? Well, if you were to take a look at plastics very closely, you will see that they are made out of many monomers that are linked together. These monomers are mostly made out of carbon and hydrogen. Here's an example of plastic PET, polyethylene terephthalate, and you can see here's a polyethylene chain, but this chain is made out of smaller monomer units that are composed of carbon and hydrogen atoms, and when you join them together it makes a longer polymer, and which results in a material like this. Now let's talk about bioplastics, because that's what our project is about. So the polymers that make bioplastic are from what we call biopolymers. Remember, bio means life, polymer is a long chain of molecule. So biopolymers are polymers that are found in living organisms. And biopolymers are very important because it gives structure and function to our bodies and all other living things on Earth. Here's an example. Our foot is made out of many, many different types of materials and cells. We have muscles, we have blood, we have bone, we have tendons. Now, each part of our foot has different types of biopolymers. In our cells, we have DNA, which is the blueprint for making the cell. This itself is a biopolymer. It's a long chain molecule made out of smaller monomer molecules. And you guys may have remembered this from last year. Nucleic acids are monomers that join together to make the deoxyribonucleic acid, which is DNA. Muscles are made out of proteins, which are large molecules. This is a protein molecule. It kind of looks like a clumped bunch of pipe cleaners, but if you were to break this down, you would find that they're made out of smaller monomers, and these monomers are called amino acids. And even our fat cells, these are, you can see this is a very long chain molecule. This is what a fat cell looks, not a fat cell, a fat molecule looks like. But if you were to break this down and look at single units, you can see that they're made out of smaller monomers. So as you can see, our bodies are made out of many types of biopolymers. Now, why do we focus on biopolymers for bioplastics? Well, there's four main reasons. First, biopolymers are made from the same atoms that make regular plastics, such as carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And you can see them in the structure here. You can see this is PET. They're made out of carbon and hydrogen. This is a biopolymer, which is a triglyceride, which is a fat molecule. And you can see very similar, carbon and hydrogen, and we have oxygen on the side. Second reason is since biopolymers are made from living things, they could be eaten by decomposers and they are also biodegradable. And because biopolymers are from living things, they are generally renewable, unlike petroplastics, which are from fossil fuels, which are non-renewable. And the fourth reason is because biopolymers give structure to living things on Earth, scientists have tried to use these to creatively re-engineer products that need similar structures. So if you compare the structures of a triglyceride to PET, you can see that there are some similarities among some of the molecules. So the question is, are we able to take these structures and re-engineer them some way to make a product that's similar to plastic that can be biodegradable, right? Now let's talk about the ingredients we're using for a bioplastic recipe. The first one is starch. So there's been a lot of questions about starch, so let's explain what it is. Starch is a type of biopolymer extracted from plants. Here are some of the starches that we're using for our project. We have tapioca, which is a type of root potato plant, makes tapioca starch. We have potato, which makes potato starch, and corn, which makes cornstarch. Generally, most plants have starch, and basically it's a polymer molecule it's a mixture of polymer molecules, and they have larger chain molecules in the starch called amylose and amylopectin. And this is generally what it looks like. I'm not going to get into the details of molecular structure today because that's really, really intense, but just know that there's these bigger molecules that look like this. Now, if you were to look closely at each of these little dots, you would see that these are made out of smaller molecules, monomers, called glucose. And if you recall, glucose is a sugar that's made from photosynthesis. So plants, after they photosynthesize, sometimes store their food source into these longer chains called amylose and amylopectin, and them mixed together is called starch. Now let's talk about gelatin. So gelatin is not from plants. Gelatin is actually it's a biopolymer, but we extract them from animals. So it's a mixture of protein polymers from bones, skin, tendons, blood vessels, and cartilage of animal products. And this is what a protein polymer looks like. And the monomers in gelatin, so each of these little smaller molecules are called amino acids. So this is an amino acid molecule. Many, many amino acids joined together make a protein polymer. And different types of proteins actually have different amounts of monomers, and the different polymers mixed together makes gelatin. And gelatin is commonly, this is what powdered gelatin looks like. And gelatin, as you guys probably know, is commonly used to make jello and even many gummy type of snacks. Finally, to wrap this up, I'm going to introduce you to the three main types of molecules that you need to make the bioplastic. So for our recipes, we have generally three types of molecules going into them. First, you need to choose a biopolymer. So you need to choose the type of long chain molecule that gives the plastic its strength and the backbone. So remember, we're using cornstarch or potato starch or tapioca starch or gelatin. So choose your biopolymer. Then we're going to use a plasticizer. A plasticizer is a type of molecule that prevents the larger polymer molecules, or the biomolecules, let me change this, biomolecules from sticking to each other, so you don't want them to become a clump. It also helps the plastic become more moldable and bendy. The third type of molecule you would add are additives, and these are molecules that give the plastic other qualities like color, strength, and flexibility. There's a whole range of additives we can add. One of the main ones is vinegar and water, and so you will also be adding those as well. I'm not going to go into the specific chemical reaction of bioplastic today, but just know that you just need to know today what molecules are, and what polymers and monomers are, and the types of molecules that go into making bioplastic. And that's it for today.